We are getting close to health care. We'll come up in the early to mid part of next year. We're going to have a vote. I think we already have the votes. We feel confident we have the votes. I would like very much to see it be done this year. So we won't go a step further. If we get it done, that's a great achievement. But don't forget, it took years for the Reagan administration to get taxes done. I've been here for 9 months, a little more than 9 months. We need a wall in this country. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. We have to have a wall.
It was a display only President Trump could put on. This afternoon, the president holding an impromptu press conference with Mitch McConnell, taking about 40 questions in just over 30 minutes. As you saw there, Mr. Trump insisting he will get through his agenda. He and the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, spoke to reporters in the Rose Garden after their White House meeting. The two insisting there is no bad blood following some contentious moments between them after the GOP failed to pass an Obamacare repeal.
Our relationship with this gentleman is outstanding, has been outstanding. We are working very hard to get the tax cuts. We will continue to work hard to get the health care completed. I'm going to be surprising some people with an economic development bill later on, but I haven't even told Mitch because I want to focus on tax cuts and some other things right now.
We have the same agenda. We've been friends and acquaintances for a long time. We talk frequently. We don't give you a readout every time we have a conversation, but frequently we talk on the weekends about the issues that are before us. Contrary to what some of you may have reported, we're together totally on this agenda to move America forward.
All right, Jesse, that was some very serious public display of affection between the president and the majority leader, saying that they actually do get along and that they have an agenda and that maybe they're going to praise in public and criticize in private.
Well, they're best friends for now until McConnell blows it. Then Trump's going to set him on fire. But I think today, symbolically, that was a real show of force for the Democrats. They show that they are together and united, and they have
Republicans.
To the Democrats.
Oh, to the Democrats.
Yeah, they're showing the Democrats they are united, they are strong, they have the majority, and they're going to keep the majority. This is also a rallying cry for the Republicans. They need to get their in gear, or else they're going to be toast in the midterms. And also really shows the media totally under control. He's got this. You know, you can tell Trump's in mid-season form here by how crisp the hand gestures are. When they're crisp and they're energetic and he takes lots of questions, you know he's feeling good about himself. I think he played all the hits. He bragged about the Electoral College victory. He dared Hillary to run again. He bashed President Obama. He took credit for the great stock market. The only thing we didn't get was a nickname for McConnell. I would have liked to have seen that. Maybe Mighty Mitch, Eminem, some suggestions. But I think he's a closer, the president. He's a fourth quarter guy. It's crunch time. He knows it. The year's almost out. He's all in on tax reform. He's going to punt DACA probably, may even punt the border wall funding, is going to punt Obamacare, but he must get tax reform done or it's over.
Juan, unlike some White House press briefings where the same question is asked over and over again to try to drill down, there wasn't necessarily an order to this press conference. I kind of liked it for how chaotic it seemed on the press's side, not on the president's side. But the press, they were so hungry to ask questions. And he covered a whole range of topics from judges. He says he's going to have an economic development plan that he announces soon. He said they have the votes right now for health care reform, but they're going to wait a little while. He talked about Cuba. He talked about the tax reform piece, as Jesse mentioned, but also was able to talk about the fact that he will have an opiate announcement. We've been waiting on the national emergency for opiate addiction. And he says these things take time. So everybody has been asking where my paperwork is. And just so you understand, it takes a little bit of time for the government to do that. So I don't know really what mid-season fighting form is, but I think I get the gist.
Right there.
I think I get the gist. What did you think?
Well, I think this is this reminds me what happened on Friday when the Chief of Staff, John Kelly, was sent out. And now we have Mitch McConnell sent out. A lot of this is about what's going on behind the scenes, which is there's a civil war raging. I mean, Steve Bannon, the president's former top political advisor, said he's got a war on the GOP establishment. What does he mean by that? He's talking about Congress. He's saying that the Congress is made up of establishment Republicans who are not backing this president, and he wants their support. And therefore, Bannon is going about trying to throw out Republicans that he considers insufficiently Trump backers. Right. Now, you got that, plus you've got the president at war with a leading member of the Senate, Bob Corker, And that hasn't stopped. That just went on over the weekend, Dana. So you have the president saying, oh, you know, don't pay any attention to these people. It's not true. What Bob Corker says is crazy. And then not one member of the Senate, including Mitch McConnell, say anything different. I mean,
and that said, though, Kimberly, Bob Corker is actually working with Tom Cotton on the president's Iran deal that they need to get done. So perhaps there's a lot of the, I don't know, the relationship intrigue is masking some actual work that's happening behind the scenes. I'm not positive about that, but
yeah, but I think that's a significant point to make when you see someone like, you know, Tom Cotton, who's widely respected in the area of, you know, foreign policy, has been a very strong, you know, vocal opponent against Iran and the deal, saying that that wasn't an appropriate, wasn't a good deal for the United States. So Corker's working together with him. That's what you want to see, not just the tweet storm, but you want to see actually.
And he's doing, and Cotton is working with Corker to make that happen.
That's what I'm saying. So I think that's very good. So that to me is more indicative of what's going on than perhaps some tweets here and there. And then I think, you know, this is a unique opportunity to kind of like reset the relationship with McConnell and the president, but nothing will make it more believable than some wins on the board. And they do need to get, you know, tax cuts in. They do need to have a budget that fully funds the military, because we're not in the best position since the Obama years in terms of fully funding and being combat ready. All of these things are important, and the Republicans need to pick up 3 to 4 seats in the Senate so that they can actually continue to get legislation through, so that the president won't have this problem every time getting through his agenda, because it's been a little bit of a slow start, you know, get the training wheels off, and now they've got to push it through.
Before we go to talk more about the whole Bannon movement, I do want to just capitalize on this because, Kennedy, I know you've been covering this on your show as well. This is Senator Graham and talking about the Republicans actually needing to get tax reform done.
Mitch McConnell's not our problem. Our problem is that we promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, and we failed. We promised to cut taxes, and we've yet to do it. If we're successful, Mitch McConnell's fine. If we're not, we're all in trouble. We lose our majority, and I think President Trump will not get reelected.
I'm not sure if I believe that people would, even if tax reform were to fail, that all of a sudden they're going to try to elect Democrats because they think that their economic condition would be better.
No, but I think what Steve Bannon is hoping is that they elect different kinds of Republicans. Because, you know, the way Steve Bannon sees it, the Republican Party has to change. And there are ineffective people like Mitch McConnell in Washington, D.C., who are happy being complacent and making excuses like, you know, Congress can't be put on a timeline with excessive expectations. But also, if you look at Mitch McConnell today, he looked like a hostage. You know, here's someone who's being attacked.
Hostage video.
Yeah, by Steve Bannon, who's going after him in as direct terms as you can possibly make. And, you know, Bannon on Hannity and at the Values Voters Summit, he's naming Mitch McConnell and people who are in line with McConnell. They're the ones whose heads are on the chopping block. And, you know, the president has been tweeting at the Senate Majority Leader, but then he's standing next to the president who's saying, no, we're best friends, this is great. And Mitch McConnell has to be very emotional and confused today, trying to figure out who are his friends, who are his enemies, who is he fighting against. But I think Lindsey Graham sort of brings it into focus. And the point is, don't be distracted by social media or operatives who are no longer in the White House. Do your job. Pass the bills. Do your work. Lead the Senate Republicans and get something done that's good for the economy and for voters who put you there.
Well, let's listen to what Steve Bannon said over the weekend and then the Trump-McConnell soundbite, if you could put those together.
It's a season of war against a GOP establishment. We need to move with urgency. The President of the United States deserves respect and deserves their support. And you can come to a microphone, and you can say, I am not going to vote for Mitch McConnell for Majority Leader.
Steve's been a friend of mine for a long time. I like Steve a lot. Steve is doing what Steve thinks is the right thing. Some of the people that he may be looking at, I'm going to see if we talk him out of that, because, frankly, they're great people.
My goal as the leader of the Republican Party in the Senate is to keep us in the majority. The way you do that is not complicated. You have to nominate people who can actually win, because winners make policy and losers go home. That's my approach. That's the way you keep a governing majority.
So, Jesse, I imagine that Mitch McConnell probably spent a lot of time during the lunch with President Trump explaining his position.
I'm not a big fan of Mitch McConnell, but I thought that statement by his was dead on. What does he say? Winners are in the Senate and losers, you know, they go home? Exactly. What did he rattle off when he talked about all the losing candidates that the Republicans nominated for Senate back in the day? Sharon Angle, Todd Akin, some of these O'Donnell.
Yeah.
They're flamethrowers, and they burst onto the scene through the primaries by the help of the grassroots, and then they get shredded in the general, and then where's your Senate seat? Oops, the Democrats have it. So you don't want to cut your nose off to spite your face. I think that's what he's saying. He wants to stay in the majority. And I don't mind Bannon trying to primary guys. If you're going to primary people, maybe primary the people that sunk Obamacare repeal and
But that's not the case with Luther Strange in Alabama.
I know, and I understand that, and that's the fight that the Republicans are going to have to make. And I'm worried about them spending boatloads of dough on races and seats that don't really matter when there's competitive seats. As you know, there's a lot of Democratic seats exposed in 2018.
Right.
Republicans have an opportunity for a little wiggle room
Pick up
where
wins.
they could lose Rand Paul or
And save
lose
the
a
money
Ted
for the
Cruz.
generals.
Right, and still have that slim majority, 51 votes to get there. Right now, they don't have that opportunity.
So one of the things Bannon said over the weekend at the Voters Value Summit is, we're cutting off your oxygen, Mitch McConnell. And what he meant by that was, we're going after Republican donors who are not satisfied that the Republican Senate has not advanced the legislation. They're not particularly wed to Trump, although Bannon is, but they want progress. They want to see something from the Republican domination of the House and Senate. Well, the idea that you go to Mitch McConnell, who said today his job is to keep a Republican majority, and say, I'm cutting off your oxygen, boy, that's a existential threat.
But it'll be interesting to see if President Trump can bridge these two worlds and for how long he can do it. Can he keep the Bannons happy? Can he keep the McConnells happy so that he can keep his majority to try to get his agenda through? That's actually the toughest part, but that's
yeah. I think Bannon is going to run his game. He's been on the inside. He's made his list of who he thinks needs to go, and I think sadly, even if McConnell puts up these wins, I think he's going to probably try to take him and others out. And we've seen what happens when Bannon has an idea that isn't in accord with the president, i.e. Luther Strange. He's going to go his way.
Okay. Well, we're going to